All right, let's talk about Charlotte real estate. It's one of the hottest topics in the Queen City for sure. But what's actually happening behind all the headlines? Well, we're about to decode the entire 2025 market using the hard data. So let's jump right in. It's the question on everybody's mind, right? Whether you're trying to buy, thinking of selling, or just living here and feeling the buzz. In this explainer, we're going to answer that question, not with rumors or feelings, but with the actual numbers that tell the real story. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, a year in review. Then we'll drill down to find the real heart of the market. We'll even look beyond the typical single-family house, see how these sales actually go down, and wrap it all up with a really surprising look at December. First up, let's just try to get a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with here. Before you dive into the details, you gotta appreciate just how big this thing is. Just look at that number. Nearly 51,000 residential homes sold across the Charlotte region in 2025. That is a massive amount of activity. I mean, think about it. That's thousands upon thousands of families on the move, lives changing, all in one year. And what does all that movement translate to in dollars and cents? A mind-boggling $25.7 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. This isn't just a housing market. It's a huge economic engine powering this whole area. Okay, so the market is gigantic. We get it. But a number that big can be kind of hard to wrap your head around. To really get it, we need to find out where all the action is concentrated. So let's pinpoint what I call the sweet spot, that price range that is the true heart of the Charlotte market. And what's so cool about this chart is how clearly it tells that story. You can see the activity just explodes in a very specific zone. The vast majority of sales, the real engine room of the market, is happening between $300,000 and $500,000. This is the battleground where most buyers are competing. So we know what folks are willing to pay. But what are they actually buying for that money? Well, when it comes to the house itself, the data is just as clear. One particular size stands head and shoulders above all the rest. And this just illustrates that point perfectly. I mean, it is not even a close race. Look at that. Over 26,000 three-bedroom homes sold this year. That is more than all the smaller homes and all the larger homes combined. The classic three-bedroom house is, without a doubt, the undisputed king of the Charlotte market. But hey, the classic single-family home isn't the whole story. To get a really complete picture of the landscape, we've got to look at what else is selling. Everything from empty lots to multi-unit buildings. This table gives us a great side-by-side. So yeah, residential homes totally dominate in sheer volume, no surprise there. But check out the other categories. There were over 5,000 land transactions, people buying up lots, acres, even farms. And look at the multi-unit market. While it's small, notice its average price is right up there with single-family homes. Interesting. And when you dig into that land data, you find something fascinating. Of those 5,400 land deals, more than 80% were paid for in cash. Now that points to a totally different kind of buyer, right? These are likely investors and builders who are betting big on Charlotte's future growth, snapping up land today for the developments of tomorrow. Okay, so we know what's selling, but how is it selling? Let's get into the mechanics of the deal itself. We're talking about two things here, speed and money. This chart shows you just how incredibly fast this market is moving. Just look at that first bar. Over half of all homes sold this year went under contract in 30 days or less. That is ridiculously quick. It just screams high demand and fierce competition. It means if you're not ready to move fast, you are going to miss out. So how are people paying? Well, as you'd probably guess, conventional loans make up the biggest piece of the pie at 56%. But what might surprise you is that cash is the second most common way to pay. Cash accounts for more than 1 out of every 5 sales. That's a huge number of buyers who can come to the table without needing a mortgage at all, giving them a massive advantage. All right, for our final section, let's take the pulse of the market right at the finish line. We've got all this data for the whole year, but how did things actually look in those final weeks of December? So, common wisdom says things slow down for the holidays. People get busy, they travel, maybe they hit pause on their home search. So did the Charlotte market follow that script and cool off a bit? Well, the answer might surprise you. Far from it. The data shows the exact opposite happened. The average sale price for the whole year was about $505,000. But in December alone, that average jumped to nearly $523,000. That is a significant spike right when most people expect the market to be taking a nap. And this right here is the critical takeaway. The market didn't just avoid a holiday slump, it actually heated up. The buyers who were out there in December were clearly very serious and willing to pay a premium, pushing that average price higher than it had been all year. And so all of this leaves us with one pretty compelling question. If the market ended 2025 with this much upward momentum, what does that signal for the year to come? That is the billion-dollar, or maybe the $25 billion question for 2026.